Hi everyone, Marisol here with my August Design Ambassador Kit from Jessie Jane's Beads. I know, I'm a little behind on sharing this, but y'all know how it is when life gets us busy. So let's take a look at the kit card. The kit card says there is a bead mix from the Color Trends collection in Gatsby, 2 12mm silver cage crystal beads, black and antique gold beaded chain, and a little bonus, a carry a bead kit. My girl Kelly packed up these goodies, so thanks Kelly. All right, let's take a look inside. So these are the 12mm silver cage crystal beads. Next to the boho beads, these cage beads are what Jessie Jane's Beads are known for. Next is the Color Trends mix in Gatsby. Anyone seen the movie The Great Gatsby? I haven't seen it. I see lots of sparkle in this mix. I have some ideas on a project design for sure. All right, well, this is beautiful and stunning. Here is the black and antique gold beaded chain. I like to call this rosary chain. I will be working with this for sure today. Last but definitely not the least, a carry a bead kit from the Beads of Courage program. Stay tuned because I will be talking a little more about this program at the end of the video. Okay, that was everything in the kit. Now, let's design some pieces. I'm going to be designing 2 pieces today. The first project is going to be a pair of Tastic earrings. Let's talk materials. I am going to be using the black and antique gold beaded chain, some adorable bat buttons from Dress It Up Buttons. This is also a sister company of Jessie Jane's Beads. I want to share the demo earrings that I made. I have a habit of creating demo pieces or sample pieces before I actually film a video on a project or design that I have in mind that I'm going to be working on. The reason I do it is because I just want to make sure it's going to work out. Now for these earrings, I had a pair of black studded earrings in my stash, and I thought they just kind of gave the earrings a nice little touch. I am also going to be using some 20 gauge multicolored artistic wire in silver, gold, and black. I will also be pulling out of my toolbox my one-step looper in 2 sizes. I will be using the 1.5mm and the 2.25mm. If you don't have a one-step looper, don't worry. You can also use your 6-step bail making pliers or round nose pliers. You will also need a pair of snippers and some flat nose or needle nose pliers. All right, let's take a look at the bat buttons. Now, because they are buttons, there's not really a hole to put a jump ring or any wire through it, with the exception of the shank on the back. So we are going to have to make one. Now you're probably wondering, why is Marisol making a hole in the bat wing? Well, I will tell you why. Now let's look at the beaded chain. The beaded chain does not have links to open. The loops are completely closed. So we'll have to make a connector to connect the beaded chain to the bats. Now, how can we make a hole in the bat? So to make a hole, you can use a hole press. This one is from Impress Art, or you can use a bead reamer to make the hole, or any type of tool to make a hole in the bat wing. All right, so those were the materials and tools for the Tastic earrings for project number 1. Project number 2 is going to be, you guessed it, a bracelet. I will be using the Color Trends bead mix in Gatsby that I received in my Design Ambassador kit. When I open the bead mix, I am going to separate the beads in my little dishes that I have here set aside. My June Design Ambassador kit had this great strand called Obsidian. There are some interesting bead shapes and spacer beads in this strand, And I want to incorporate them into the bracelet that I'm going to be designing. And from my stash, I have these so cute square metal spacer beads. They're gunmetal in color and have a wavy shape to them. I will be using the clear elasticity from Beadalon in size 0.5, and I will also have my bead stopper. Okay, let's get our materials and our tools for our first project, the Tastic Earrings. Let's get working on those. Did you know Jessie Jane's Beads also has a sister company that sells buttons? This packet has silver and black bats. Now remember, this is your design. So if you want to have all silver bats or all black bats or a combination of the two, you go ahead and you design that way. I want my bats to have a kind of a different directional look to them. So it kind of looks like they're flying outwards. I decided to use my bead rimmer to make the hole or hollow out the swirl on the bat wing. I'm going to carefully find that hole or that swirl on the bat wing that I want to ream out or to make hollow. I'm going to also do that to all of the bat wings that I've decided to use in my design. I'm going to speed up this part of the video, but if you are going to be using a bead reamer, a word to the wise to make sure that you take your time. That is my recommendation. Take your time if you're using the bead reamer because you don't want to poke yourself with the tip. The tip of the bead reamer is very, very sharp. So please take your time if you're going to be using the bead reamer. As you're watching this part of the video, tell me in the comment section, what colors are you excited about to see this fall, right? I'm excited to see like the oranges and the yellows and the bright reds. I'm so excited to see those colors. What colors are you excited about to see this fall season? Okay, all of my bats have been reamed out and we have success. Now that the holes are made, let's put the chain on. This part of the design is completely up to you. You determine what length you want your chains to be. As I was putting together my demo earrings or my sample earrings, I decided that I wanted the chain that was going to have the silver bat in the middle, and then I also wanted it to be the longest chain in the design. The chains on the outside, the left and right side with the black bats, I kind of wanted them to be not the same length, but having a staggered length to them. I wanted the bats to look like they were cascading down the beaded chain. Okay, let's get to cutting that beaded chain. Taking another look at the chain, we're reminded that the beaded chain loops are completely closed. There is no way for us to twist open the chain so that way we can add in a link or add in anything. It is completely closed. As you are cutting, remember to only cut the loop of the section that you don't need. Only cut the section that you don't need. But don't throw that section away. Put it away because you know what? You may not be able to use the wire, but you can sure use that cute little, tiny little black bead that's in there. Anytime I purchase any beaded chain or rosary chain, I always make sure to check the loops. Make sure that the loops are closed correctly and that the tails on the wrap loops are all tucked in. The last thing we want, especially if we're selling or gifting our designs, the last thing we want is for the earrings to snag on a blouse or a sweater or any type of clothing. We want to make sure that those tails aren't sticking out, that everything's tucked in nice and neat, and that the loops are closed correctly so that way our pieces don't fall apart. Okay, our chain is all set and we have it to the length that we want. We are very happy with it. Now, let's start connecting them. I'm going to get my 20 gauge multicolored artistic wire first. I chose this color combination because the gold on the wire is a pretty darn good match to the antique gold on the beaded chain. Working directly from the spool, I'm going to make my first loop with my 1.5 millimeter one-step looper. Now, if you've never used the one-step looper, there is a hole on one side of the tool, and that is where you're going to put your extra wire. I'm going to line up my wire as best as I can to have the gold on the side where the loop is going to be made. Holding the tool steady, I'm going to give it a good squeeze, and that is how the loop is going to be formed. Taking the loop off of the tool, the loop seems to be a little off-centered, but I'm not too worried about that because I'm going to get my needle nose pliers and I'm going to center it. Using my nylon pliers, I'm going to give the wire a little bit of a smush. This will slightly work harden the wire. All right, I'm going to put the loop up next to the beaded chain. Yep, pretty darn close. Okay, now I'm going to get my 2.25 millimeter one-step looper, and I'm going to make the loop on the other side of the wire. Now, obviously, I can't put the loop that I just made through the hole on the right side of the tool. I'm going to cut the wire from the spool. Now I can put my wire into the tool and make my second loop. Now this connector that I just made, it is a little tiny, so it was a little hard to get off of the tool. So I'm going to use my needle nose to help me get it off and not stretch the connector that I just made too out of shape. Just as I did with the first loop, I'm getting my nylon jaw pliers and I'm hardening the connector. And there we have it, our first figure 8 connector. Now I'm just going to make several more for each one of my bats. I now have 6 figure 8 connectors for each one of the bats. Now I'm going to show you how to connect them. Opening the loop on the connector as if you were opening a jump ring, slide the bat onto the loop and then close the loop as if you were closing a jump ring. I kept this part at regular speed because I wanted you to see how easy it is to open the connector loop, slide the bat onto the loop, and then reposition it and get your pliers and close the loop back up. I wanted you to see how easy it is to do that. Now that the bat is on, let's connect our chain. Adding the beaded chain, it will be the same process as we did with adding the bat. We're going to twist open the loop, add our beaded chain, and then close the loop securely. I left this part of the video at regular speed so you can watch and follow along. Okay, there we have it, our first bat on a beaded chain. Now, let's finish off the rest. I have completed one pair, and I'm going to be using an ear wire for this one. Opening the loop at the bottom of the ear wire, I'm going to place my bats and beaded chain in the order I want them to hang. I'm keeping in mind to have the pretty side of the bats facing forward. Now I'm going to close up the loop at the bottom of the ear wire and voila! We have some beautiful bat-tastic pair of earrings. I'm going to repeat the process for the other pair. Okay, I love a good stretch bracelet. In fact, I love it even more when it has sparkle, glitz, and glam. Tell me if you know what I mean in the comments section. I'm so excited to open up this Color Trends bead mix in Gatsby. When I saw it on the website, I was so excited. I was like, man, this is a great mix. And I knew the pictures probably didn't do it justice. And I was most certainly right. When you get a new bead mix, tell me, do you lay them all out? I love to put mine in these little clear dishes and sort out the beads by big and small or spacers, or I kind of like to separate them and then just kind of look at them and have them talk to me. You know, it's like they're like saying, make something with me, make a bracelet, make some earrings, make a ring, do something with me. Do your beads speak to you too? What is your process when you get a new bead mix? What do you do? Okay, my bead mix is all laid out and set and ready to go. Now I'm going to bring in the rest of my materials that I'm going to use for my bracelet. About a month ago, I saw this amazing wire working artist, Melody McDuffie, and she made these adorable like wire spacer swirly beads, and I had to buy her book. So I bought her book and I made some out of 20 gauge artistic wire, the same wire we used for the Tastic earrings, and I made some. So I made some, and I think they will go great with my bracelet. And of course, I have my gunmetal square wavy spacers and my Obsidian bead strand. This bracelet that I'm going to be making is for myself. So I usually measure about 7 1/4, 7 1/2 on my wrist size. I have my bead-along elasticity in 0.5, and I'm going to measure out about 18 inches because I usually use 2 strands of elastic cord. There are different variations of how to make stretch bracelets, how to tie them, how to, measure them out and all that other good stuff. So this is the way I do it, but you do whatever makes you feel comfortable and what you're confident in doing. As I mentioned, there are different ways to lay out your stretch bracelet, design a stretch bracelet, and even tie or knot a stretch bracelet. But there is one thing that we all do, and we do it at the beginning of our project. We stretch our elastic cord. Stretching the elastic cord basically tells the material that it's going to be in a different shape from what it was when it was put onto the packaging or onto the spool. Stretching your elastic cord is going to also help your bracelet lay better. It's going to also help it last a little bit longer. Now I'm folding my elastic cord in half, and I'm going to find the center point, and I'm going to make a little loop, and then I'm going to get my bead stopper, and I'm going to put my bead stopper at the end, kind of leaving the loop at the top. Now I'm ready to start beading. Now, for this project, I do not have a pattern. I do not have an idea of what I want my bracelet to look like. So I'm just kind of adding some beads, adding some spacers, and kind of letting the project itself speak to me and kind of take form. I would like to know, when you're designing pieces of jewelry for yourself, Do you like to have a pattern? Do you like it to be just kind of, whimsical or, very playful? How do you like to design your pieces of jewelry for yourself? When I design pieces for myself, I like to go with whatever mood I'm in. If I'm feeling like the fall seasons or Christmas or Valentine's Day or New Year's Eve or even for my birthday or anniversary for that matter, I like stuff to be glitzy and sparkly because, sparkle is my favorite color. But at the same time, I still like simplicity. I like stuff that is clean lines and visible. You can actually see and feel what I was thinking of when I was putting together a design. Okay, so we just talked about what do you think of when you design pieces for yourself? But how about for farmers markets or boutique pop-ups or, craft fairs? The holiday season is upon us and a lot of us are getting ready, or custom orders. What kind of mindset do you get into when you are designing for other people? Because it's completely different, right? It's completely different designing for yourself than it is to design for other people. And sometimes a lot of us, we have a hard time designing for other people because the tastes are different, their colors that they want are different, the finishes that they want are different. So when you reach that point where you're designing custom orders for other people, what kind of mindset do you get into? All right, I'm breaking into my Obsidian Strand. There are some beads in this strand that I definitely need to use in my bracelet. Okay, so the Gatsby mix had these amazing large faceted rondelle beads, and they fit perfectly with the swirly spacer wire beads that I made. So I'm pretty excited about how well they look together. As I'm going along here, I'm pretty excited for myself because I'm like, oh yeah, this is going great. And, that I have the right amount of mixtures of texture. I have the wire, I have the spacer beads, that look like flying saucers. Then I have my gunmetal square wavy spacer beads that has that little bit of, pow. And then I have my sparkly beads and I'm very, very excited. And then I hit a roadblock. Now, you guys, my roadblock is not that big of a deal, but I just realized that the Gatsby bead mix only had 2 of the large faceted rondelle beads, and I need 4 because I need to have, okay, you guys know how I said that I like stuff simple and stuff like that, but I need to have a little bit of balance at the same time. And I need to have 2 more of those large black faceted rondelle beads so that way I can put in another swirly spacer wire bead in my design. But not to fear, because I am a bead hoarder. Raise your hand. It's okay. Don't be embarrassed. You're within good company, but raise your hand if you are a bead hoarder too. It's okay. Don't be shy. All right. So I did try to see if some of the other shapes would, make me feel all giddy and happy and be okay and make me smile. Yeah, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. I was set on finding 2 more large faceted rondelle beads for my design, and I was not going to stop until I found those 2 beads. As I was contemplating where I was going to find those 2 other beads, I decided to take a look at how far I was from the 7.5 mark. And by looking at it, I did have quite a bit of beading to do before I got to that 7.5 mark. So I'm going to continue on beading, and then I will probably take a break and then go look for those 2 beads that I oh so desperately need to make me feel happy inside. and then I will come back and finish my project. All right, in my bead stash, yes, of course, I had a strand that is from Jessie James Beads, designed by me, and it is this beautiful black strand. Now, I was doing my best, or trying my best, to stay focused. I mean, look at this one. This one looks like a faceted Fabergé egg. You guys, there is so much sparkle on this bead strand that it has me thinking about restringing my bracelet. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay focused. I'm going to finish this project. But look at this one. This one looks like a sparkly cat toy. How can you not want that in your design? Okay, breathe in, breathe out, stay focused, stay on task. You can do it, Marisol. You can do it. This bead cap. Ay, Dios mío. Why you got to do this to me, Jessie James Beads? Look at that. Look at that. That is a bead cap. Okay, just put it in the dish, Marisol. Put it in the dish. Put down the bead cap. Okay, I have my 2 large faceted rondelle beads, and now I'm going to finish up my bracelet, and then we're going to tie this up. Okay, I am quite happy. Now I am going to measure one more time, and that's for good measure. Okay, the size is perfect, and look at that, you guys. Look how beautiful and stunning and sparkly this is. Okay, it's time to tie it all up. Now, there are different ways, different variations on how to knot a stretch bracelet. You use the method that you feel more comfortable and more confident in using. This is just the way I tie up my stretch bracelets. I'm going to remove a few of the beads that I strung on. Looks like about 1/2 inch or so. I'm going to take 1 strand of the elastic cord, just one, doesn't matter which one. And on that 1 strand, I'm going to put back on the beads that I removed. As you're putting the beads back on the elastic cord, make sure they're in the right order. I actually had to restring it a couple of times because they weren't in the right order. Next, I'm taking it and I'm putting it through or threading it through the loop that is by the bead stopper. Once I have it threaded through, I'm actually going to bring the 2 pieces of elastic cord together, but I'm not going to pull it tight just yet. Don't pull it tight just yet. We still have a couple more steps in order to tie it up. Now I'm going to gently and slowly remove the bead stopper. Okay, I'm going to remove the bead stopper. Taking the elastic cord that has the beads strung back on them, I'm going to thread the elastic cord back through those beads. Remember, take your time. You're almost done. We're almost finished. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you, in my time, I have dropped a few stretch bracelets and beads were flying everywhere. Some have gone under the, kitchen table, the refrigerator. Some, have been kidnapped by cats and never to be seen again. So take your time and just know that once you're done with your design, you are going to be so accomplished. Alrighty, now that the cords are back together, they are reunited and it feels so good. Okay, sorry, went off there. I am going to make sure that my beads are snug like a bug in a rug. Now, the first knot that I'm going to tie is a basic overhand knot or a shoelace knot. After the overhand knot, I'm going to tie 2 surgeon's knots, one right on top of the other. I kept this part of the video in regular speed so that way you can watch the surgeon knot being done in case you had never seen it before. Now that that's done, I am going to give my bracelet a tug in the opposite direction of the knots that I was making. If my knots are truly secure, see that little knot right there? It should not move or come undone. I'm going to take the knot and move it over or slide it over slightly so that way I can tuck it into either a spacer bead or a bead that has a large enough hole so I can hide that little knot. All right, last but certainly not least is to cut off the tails. I don't need them, so I'm going to go ahead and cut them off. If you are going to be gifting or selling your stretch bracelets, a little dab of Hypo G cement is not going to hurt. Go ahead and put that on there. Okay, my bracelet is all done and it looks fabulous. I love it, love it, love it. Should I wear it with my stack that I have on? Oh, yes, I should. I'm going to put it on right now. Look at that. Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. All right, stay tuned. I have a bonus just for you. Remember when I was looking for the 2 large faceted rondelle beads? Well, when I saw those beads that look like a faceted Fabergé egg bead, I was like, oh, I need to make something out of that. But what? So I decided to make a pair of earrings, and I'm also going to use the leftover silver bats that I had from the Dress It Up buttons of the Bewitching Bats mix. I'm going to take 2 pieces of 20 gauge German style wire, 6 inches each. Grabbing from my toolbox, I'm going to take out my 2.25 one-step looper, and I'm going to make a loop on one side of the wire. After creating my loop, I'm going to get my needle nose pliers and open up the loop, just like I'm opening up a jump ring. Next, I'm going to slide on my silver bat, just like we did with the Tastic earrings at the beginning of this video. Okay, that looks all set. Now, let's add some beads. Okay, so first I'm going to start off by adding a bead cap and then that beautiful faceted round bead and then another bead cap. But when I did that the first time, the bead cap and the bat were kind of bumping up against each other. It didn't seem like there was much movement there. So I took it off and then put a small black faceted bead to kind of act like a little spacer. So now as I put it all back together, it looks like it has a little bit more movement. And of course, I added a beautiful kind of detailed silver bead on the top for cherry on the top. Now I'm going to make a wrapped loop at the top here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my needle nose pliers. I'm going to place it onto the wire, and then I'm going to bend the wire away from me at an angle. Next, I'm getting my 6-step bail making pliers. Now, don't worry if you don't have one of these. You can use your round nose pliers as well. And I'm going to use the smallest loop that is on the pliers. I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to loop it over the top of the bail making pliers. After I've made that part of the loop, I'm going to reposition my tool and then finish the loop by pushing the wire underneath, and there we have it, a loop. Okay, now I'm going to grab my needle nose pliers again, and I'm going to grab the loop with my needle nose pliers, and I'm actually going to switch hands from my right hand to my left hand because my right hand is my dominant hand, and it's just easier for me to make the wraps that way. I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to wrap around 3 times. You don't have to use your hand. If using a tool will help you get better wraps, go ahead and use a tool. Okay, my wraps are all done and they look great. Now I'm going to get my flush cutters and I'm going to cut off the excess wire. And when I cut, I'm going to try to get as close to the last wrap as I possibly can. All right, now I'm going to check to see if there's any excess wire or any wire sticking out there. And if there is, I'm going to get my needle nose pliers and I'm going to tuck that tail in. Again, we do not want to get that stuck on any type of clothing, sweaters, blouse, or anything like that. So we're going to tuck it in. The finishing touch, I'm going to get my ear wire. I'm going to open up the loop at the bottom of the ear wire. Okay, now I'm going to take the piece that I just finished and I'm going to put it on that loop, but I'm going to make sure that the pretty side of that bat is facing forward. Closing up my loop, my earring is all done. Look at that. It is so sparkly. Any temptress would love to wear this pair of earrings. And of course, to make the other one, you just follow the same instructions as this one. All right, everyone. Those were the quick tutorials that I had for this video. Now, the last item that I took out of my August Design Ambassadors kit was the Carry a Bead from Beads of Courage. This program is near and dear to my heart. As a cancer survivor myself, as an adult, receiving treatment and going through chemo and radiation, it was hard. It was difficult. There was a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress, mentally, emotionally, physically, and to be honest, there were times where I just wanted to give up. I was done. I was tired of it. Now, I could not imagine going through that as a child and then having the child's families, wondering how they can help and wondering how they can help make the pain go away. And as a parent, sometimes that's hard. You just want to take the pain for your children. Children who are diagnosed with serious illnesses are suddenly put into a world of needle pokes, long hospital stays away from the comfort of their home, and medical treatments. The Beads of Courage program gives support through arts and medicine. Every time a bead is given, the child is honored for showing courage and strength through a tangible symbol of a bead. Each bead is a representation of what a child has had to endure and gives them a way to say, "I did it." The Beads of Courage office here in Tucson annually hosts a Beads, Blues, and Beer Festival. It's a benefit for Beads of Courage and the Angel Charity Arts and Medicine program. For the past several years, Jessie Jane's Beads has been a supporting sponsor of the charity festival. The amazing Katie Hacker, you may recognize her from the Beads, Baubles, and Jewels series, as well as a fantastic jewelry designer and author. She hosts a benefit for Beads of Courage through Designing with the Stars. This year, there were 2 event dates, one over the summer in August, and the other is coming up in November. You will receive materials to make 3 designer jewelry pieces, all taught by some of the top jewelry designers in the industry. If you're interested in the event, please see the link in the description box. Be part of the Beads of Courage healing journey. Give more children a chance to record, tell, and own their own stories of courage. You and I can make a difference in a child's life. Until next time, my friends, have a great one.